Let's kick this right off. This is the Metabesity, Targeting Metabesity 2020 Emerging Company Showcase. And I'm going to introduce the moderator of this day, Phil Newman. He is the head of Longevity.Technology. I know them as a leading publication in the longevity space. I see their updates every day. I read the various articles. But I know that, Phil, if you look at their website, they show a who's who of the longevity field amongst their advisors. So I wonder, Phil, if we could start out by asking you, what is your company, or what are your companies, and what do you do?
Well, thanks for that, Thomas. Well, our company is actually called First Longevity, and that has two assets, as it were. We have the Longevity.Technology media brand, which is our daily news channel. And then next year, we're going to be launching our crowdfunding platform, which is going to be Crowd Longevity. And that's going to be specifically focused on funding early stage and mid-stage longevity businesses, both US and European.
Wow, fascinating. What's your background? How did you come into this space?
Well, Jim Mellon, who's actually on our advisory panel, I read a news announcement actually when I was on a train between Oslo and Trondheim about this guy called Jim Mellon and a company called Juvenescence that had just raised 50 million. And they were doing something with ectopic livers around the system and around this whole context of this subject called longevity, and it completely fascinated me. And I was kind of looking for something to throw my efforts and energies into. And really from that point, I became transfixed with the marketplace. And I looked at what was happening in the marketplace and realized that there was kind of different ways in which people were interpreting it. So I decided to do my own work, interpret what I figured was a reasonable structure for what the longevity sector is. So for example, cosmetic products we don't have within our field, financial services we don't have within our field, but on the basis of having stretched everything from AI to nanotech to Senolytics, we decided that we had a reasonable starting point for building a publication. So we ran for stealth in 2019, 6 months in the tunnel, myself and 3 writers. We were building our backstory, and then we launched in September 2019, and we've been growing very fast since then, and it's been great. And we saw an opportunity in the marketplace to be the daily news channel, and that really, I guess, is what attracted some of our advisory panel members to join us. I mean, we asked them and they said yes. We didn't have to go to anybody and get rejected, which is good. So yeah, I'm quite pleased with the progress so far.
It's just 13 months, did you say, since September of 2019? That's
yeah,
13
months, yeah.
Laura Deming was saying in yesterday's VC panel that everything seems to be moving at 2 or 3x speed. I don't know if it's COVID or it's just the sign of the times, but your scale up is amazing. So what are your long-term goals? I think I've seen somewhere that you're fundraising for the crowdfunding capacity there. So what are you doing?
So we have an active fundraiser at the moment. We've closed our second round and we're announcing that tomorrow. So we've got some heavy hitters who are also investing, which is good. Some very well-known names in the longevity field. So we've still got a little bit of our round to close. So that's still open at the moment. And the purpose of the round is really to help us get the firepower that we need in terms of staff. We've got quite a bit of technology to build as well, because really across the 2 platforms, we have both the content business, which is Longevity.Technology, and the funding business being Crowd Longevity. They're going to need different teams and different skills and technical infrastructure to run them. So that's what the money's going to be going into. And really our plan is to start moving into a new generational step of content. So we've been free for everybody up until now, and the plan is absolutely to still be so. But there's going to be some intelligence that we're going to be creating with our research teams, which is going to be developing some market insights, which we feel will have some paywall content associated with it. So that's where we're going to start moving to, because obviously having taken investors' money, I've got to start converting that into revenue at some point.
Well, before your paywall goes up, if I can ask you, what are you thinking, what are you seeing in the longevity market? Where is it now? Where do you see it going? On what sort of time frame?
Well, of course, timeframes associated with traditional biotech are absolutely being compressed. I see we've got Alex Zavaronkov of Insilico joining us today. Those guys are doing some fantastic work with compression of development time cycles. with AI, which is really fascinating. I'm very fascinated by also what they're doing and other companies are doing in terms of both apps to help people with managing their health and their health span and therefore their longevity. So we see a big marketplace in that domain. Obviously, a lot of wearables coming online as well at the moment. So I feel there's going to be a bit of a clearing out of the marketplace at some point, but it's even not at that stage yet. It's still growing. So that's very exciting. So AI is big. Also supplementation, generally recognized as safe supplements, obviously have fewer hurdles to get through than a pure biotech would have. So seeing a lot of those coming onto the marketplace, you can see what's happening with NAD+. That's starting to get multiple players in the marketplace. There are still some questions over, are the therapies actually as efficient as they say they would be? But I think that's a reflection of the growing nature of the marketplace. But generally recognized as safe supplements, I think, are going to be really exciting. And additionally, biomarkers, because if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. And I think that really people have started to think beyond DNA methylation. They're starting to now think about all of their biomarkers. And obviously that data is going to be collected as it is in a very, very fragmented way at the moment. And I do feel that the apps that are going to be developed on the back of biomarker collection, whether it's blood samples or saliva or whatever it may be, as well as biometric data, that's going to be really exciting. And I think all of those are going to compress now and really help people understand what longevity actually means as an industry.
I mean, we're going to watch the business models unfold, be very exciting, but we get a little bit of handicapping. I mean, do you think that clock companies and biomarker companies can make money in the same way that a product development company may be able to do, or a supplement company? How do you see this coming out, shaking out in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, it will shake out in 5 to 10 years, but I don't think it's anywhere near being ready to shake out yet. I think that just speaking on a personal basis, I'm tracking a lot of markers. I'm using different vendors to provide me with that data. It is a challenge for me to put all of that data and assimilate it into some form of meaning for myself as an individual. So I do feel that really the biomarker manufacturers are going to have to buddy up with the supplement manufacturers, who are going to have to buddy up with the app developers, so that there's more of a symbiotic relationship between all of these players, so that people find it easier to be able to understand their health markers, to understand, are they improving their health and their health span, and obviously are they then leading into a longer life. And then interestingly, of course, once you move into the sphere of having a longer life, the next phase is, can you afford to have that longer life? And I think that financial services is going to be very interesting. It's on the outside of the industry at the moment, but it's moving in fast. And I feel that all of these things, supported by all the great work that's going on in very early stage senolytic therapies, which are obviously fascinating, and there's a lot of hope associated with them. That the market is here and now with other technologies that are already classified as longevity. And then there's the age tech sphere, which is really taking benefit, I would suggest, out of COVID, where people are understanding that people need to live independently. But if they're living independently, they need to be addressing things like loneliness, they need companionship, they need interaction with the outside world. And I think that it's happening here and now. But I do feel that people are still trying to understand what the longevity industry is. So when we look at publications that we're going to put out, we're always asking ourselves, is this longevity or is this good old-fashioned healthcare? Because if we let that line blend too much, I think we lose our ability to coalesce as an industry.
I do know that we have to go over some ground rules for what's going to happen for the rest of the day. And Phil, you have some comments to make on that, but I can't let you go with you as being the person being interviewed here, as opposed to the questionnaire. How is a crowd-funded market going to work? How would private investors be able to get into this space? If you're not a venture capitalist, you're not an angel investor, you're not a large corporation with a strategic investment. What are your thoughts?
So what we would classify as retail investing is something that would be our second generational step. So let's call it crowd longevity Gen 2. Generation 1 would be more working with angel investors. There are a lot of angel investors that are very engaged from a personal basis in the longevity marketplace. The challenge, of course, is that there are not that many venture capital companies dedicated to longevity at this stage. So I feel that really the opportunity is to bring those parties together, to syndicate rounds that is mixing both professional investors and angel investors together in companies, exciting companies that have been pre-screened by the experts in their respective fields to ensure that there's quality deal flow. Second stage will then be to open it up to a wider, more retail, lower level investor. But we'll be looking at probably at an entry level of about $5,000 per investment as a minimum.
Terrific. Well, I'm hoping that folks in the audience are going to find the lineup of companies that are going to present to be very cool, and they may want to know how they can invest in it. Phil, can you take us through some of the ground rules for what's going to happen for the rest of the day?
Indeed. Well, as I'm based in the UK and it's already 4:15 in the afternoon and I'm going to be here for the duration, I'm going to try and very much and keep everybody on track. Everybody's going to have a 12-minute presentation slot where hopefully we'll have 3 minutes for questions and answers. So what's going to happen is I will give you a verbal 2 minutes warning. I'll just say 2 minutes while you're presenting, hopefully at a point where you're drawing breath rather than when you're in mid-flow. And then when my video comes back up again, that'll be when I'm ready to close you down for your last minute. And then if there's enough time and everybody's behaved themselves nicely, we'll have a few moments for questions and answers. So we'll be watching for those in the chat channel as we go along.
I guess I would urge the presenters to keep your answers on a lightning round, crisp, pithy answers. And there's an opportunity to go out to breakout rooms, Phil. Can you describe that a little bit?
Yes, that's right. Sure, that's fine. So you're welcome to join the presenter in the breakout rooms immediately after their presentation. And you can stay there for up to 12 minutes. And after 12 minutes, you'll be brought back into the main conference room, which we're talking on now. Terrific.
Well, it's my clock says 11:14, one says 11:15. Why don't I turn the mic completely over to you, Phil, and you can call up the companies, please.